Hey, what's going on guys? Ace Trainer John here, and today we're going to be doing a little bit of a weird hybrid discussion video. What I mean by that is that this video is just going to be like a general discussion sort of on random things about the Solstice of Heroes and maybe some little guides about Solstice. And at the end I'll have a little sort of update in regards to the channel. So I'm going to go ahead and leave a little timestamp for the little intro here, and then the main discussion and the update in case you want to skip to any of through any of those in the description down below. So first up, let's talk about how the Solstice works real quick, as I noticed that there's been a lot of confusion from a lot of people, so let me explain it real quick. So basically the event has two different little gameplay loops. First gameplay loop is the upgrading of the armor. You start off with the blue armor, then you upgrade it to the purple majestic armor, and then you upgrade it to the final magnificent armor. Do not masterwork it whatsoever until you reach the final magnificent set, because each time you upgrade the armor, except for the magnificent for the glows, it does take away any sort of progression in terms of masterworking, and it gives you a completely new set of armor. So again, do not masterwork until it's at the final form. Another side note with the magnificent set, when it comes to unlocking the glows, you can do that at any time during the solstice, and you can do it at any time outside of the solstice. It's just the majestic and rare sets that you have to do during the solstice. And this sort of segues into our next sort of topic, which is the second gameplay loop, which revolves around the solstice packages. How you get these is playing through the European Aerial Zone, which is located in the tower. Also, playing through the European Aerial Zone, you'll notice that you'll be earning these key fragments. These key fragments are use 15 of them, and you use it to open a solstice package. Key fragments can be earned outside of the European Aerial Zone, but the packages cannot. And the key fragments do not just come from outside in the bounties, you can also get them from certain playlist completions like Crucible or Strike completions. And within these packages, they contain many blue items and different upgrading materials, and most importantly, once you unlock the magnificent set of armor, you can actually earn random rolled pieces of the magnificent set through the solstice packages. So if you're looking for better rolls for your magnificent set of solstice armor, you can go ahead and grind out these packages and key fragments and start opening them. And one final little tip and trick when it comes to the magnificent armor and unlocking the glows is account wide if your other characters are on the same exact magnificent armor set. It is not retroactive, your characters have to be on the actual set in order for it to count. Oh, and I almost forgot one little final tip and trick. For every majestic armor set you complete, it'll add a ×1 multiplier to your account, meaning progression will go faster for the armor set for every character you complete. Anyways, with those tips and tricks and this little tutorial out of the way, let's jump into discussion pieces. First up, let's talk about the armor objectives. Now originally, when I was making this part, I was going to be super pissed, and that was simply from the fact that we had discovered that there was actually a multiplier applied for every majestic set you complete. So because of that, it ends up being a perfect little grind for an event that's basically supposed to last a month. So big ups to Bungie for adding that multiplier for every majestic set you complete. Next up, let's talk about armor stat roll farmability. The only way to get the solstice armor is through the solstice packages, as you know. Now the system would be perfectly fine if it wasn't clogged up with a bunch of blue items. See, the problem is there's about 7 to 8-ish layers of RNG. On top of the added FOMO from this being an event, the armor is extremely difficult to farm out a good stat roll. I wouldn't have a problem if they removed the blues, that's kind of what the issue is, because then I'd be dealing with just 5 armor pieces and trying to get the perfect stat roll. But the reality is, I'm also competing with several different blue armor and weapon drops, and it's just way too annoying of a grind. So my recommendation, if Bungie is going to keep it the way it is, they need to make it so the solstice packages drop only the solstice armor. And the third piece of discussion, let's talk about the glows. Okay, so where do I even start with this? I guess let's start with the free, in quotes, white glow. I dislike whatsoever that Bungie describes it as free, because it is not free, it is earned. Now my main problem with this is that Bungie's trying to act like they're doing us a favor, removing a final sort of reward. I don't know, last year if you went through the painful task of completing all 3 sets on all your characters, you got rewarded with a sparrow and I think also an exotic ship. Basically what I'm trying to say is, Bungie is essentially giving themselves a pat on the back for giving us less and basically saying, well, we could have gave you nothing. And I dislike that mentality whatsoever, especially with Luke Smith coming out a couple months ago saying that we need to put more into the game and less in the Eververse. Which brings us to the next thing, which is the Eververse glows. Not only are they overpriced, they're also ornaments. And the problem with that is, I worked really hard to get the white glows, and they didn't even become ornaments. On top of this, you do not have to earn the Majestic set in order to buy the Elemental glows. Hell, you don't even have to complete the Magnificent set, you only have to complete the Rare Blue set. I guess overall, I wouldn't be as pissed off at Eververse if Bungie wasn't double dipping. Basically, they already make us pay $10 a season, so $10 every 3 months, possibly even more for the big old expansions, just to keep playing what relevant parts of the game. I find it highly ridiculous when I see a exotic ghost shell or ship or the goddamn armor sets cost more than the season itself. It's just extremely greedy and douchey of Bungie. So in the end, I guess this leaves us with the question of, is Solstice of Heroes worth it? I would say yes to an extent. If you're 100% burned out at the game at the moment, I just don't recommend doing this whatsoever. Pretty much all you're going to be missing out on is, a couple of cosmetic upgrades, but then other than that, if you really like the game, then yes, go grind for those glows. And if you don't have the time to grind for the glows, all you have to do is complete the blue armor set for each character in order to unlock the glows to buy in Eververse. So I guess if you're burnt out on the game at the moment, I would just wait till Beyond Light, but if you're not burnt out, this gives you something to do. And with that, that sort of ends the discussion. So let's move into the little sort of personal little update in terms of the channel and everything. Now, if you notice lately, I've been sort of struggling a little to get out videos on a consistent schedule. And sort of the reason for that is sort of a combination of things. I guess the first thing is I've been having a shitty sleep schedule. I've been trying my hardest to keep it consistent, but it's just been a little hard because I've been playing some different games lately, sort of trying out new things, so it can make it harder to go to bed at a proper time, especially when you end up liking the new game. And the other thing has just been lack of content. And when it comes to TWAB videos, my problem with them is that it's relying on Bungie to deliver a sort of meaty TWAB every week, and just every once in a while they just obviously don't make it as meaty, they make it super light. So when that happens, that can result in no video for the week. When it comes to these discussion videos, a lot more difficult to make just simply from the fact that I don't really like going from a script, and that's mainly from the fact that I just have a tendency to trip up more when I'm reading from a script. So because of that, it takes longer to articulate my thoughts consistently and properly. I guess what I'm trying to say is, over the next couple of weeks, possibly months, it'll probably be harder. There'll probably be weeks where I won't get content out at all during the week, and that's simply just because of, lack of content and shitty sleep schedule. Anyways, let's segue over to Twitch. Now, when it comes to Twitch, I'm just not really sure on basically everything. On one hand, I'd like to do more, but on the other, I just like to relax. So, I don't know. It'll probably be up in the air. I may or may not tweet out when I do live streams, but I don't know. I'm just not really sure. Keep an eye out for my Twitter. Something consistent I can do about them is that I'm live every single Tuesday at twitch.tv/HJohn, and that's just me doing reset stuff on Destiny. Although I do occasionally do other things. Anyways, this is HJohn, and I'll see ya in the next one. Peace.